Hello and welcome to today's episode of Rev Folklore Reviews. Today we'll be taking a look at I Didn't Come Here to Die by White Collar Sideshow. White Collar Sideshow is an industrial rock act out of Arkansas. They're the musical and visual epitome of that special sort of crazy that can only come out of the Ozarks. I saw White Collar Sideshow for the first time in 2008. I really can't remember if it was at the Cornerstone Music Festival or at Tomfest here in the Northwest, but they were quite attention-getting to me. It was quite a presentation. I remember the masks and the lights and the film clips playing behind them. Another thing that made them stand out was their use of saw blades as percussion. At the time they had sort of a circus-y horror presentation of them that was talking about the fallouts of pornography addiction in a way that was presented both honestly and with hope. Back then it was mostly a show about drums. They had at least two massive drum sets on stage. No vocals really to speak of. Most any words that were delivered during their show were between songs or on screen as part of a multimedia presentation. I remember after seeing them the first couple times dragging some friends along to see what this was about. A couple of years later they had put out their first full-length album with a new presentation called Witch Hunt. The album was more or less about the 7 deadly sins, and the most noticeable change on this recording was the introduction of vocals in the music, whereas their first EP was pretty much just instrumental. The vocals were delivered in a more rhythmic than melodic way, but I did think it made them a little more accessible in general. It had sort of a feel to it of maybe like a scaled back Ministry or Rob Zombie type of show. Not to say it wasn't engaging, it certainly had its own merits. The Witch Hunt album offered a couple of memorable songs, but really their show was always much more about the overall show and presentation. White Collar was very much a live experience. Catching us a bit more up to speed, a couple of years later, their drummer Schwinn left the group, bringing White Collar down to essentially just a two-piece act. And what changes would this bring? How would they adapt? That was something we were waiting to see. Well, we don't need to speculate about that anymore because their new album is out now, and they're already touring on the new show. Now, I will note that I haven't seen them live on this one yet, so I'm going to be basing this review on just kind of my general thoughts on nothing but the recorded music and the DVD that came along with it. Now, just a really quick look at the packaging here. This is the CD-DVD combo pack. There's also a vinyl edition, but open this up here, and there is a insert booklet here that doesn't really have anywhere to sit. The previous album had an extra fold in here where this sat in securely. This one is kind of it just sits in there loose, but it does include the lyrics and credits in here, so there's that. But in the fold here, on one side you have the eyes side, and the other side you have the ears side, which is one is for you to watch and one is for you to listen. So yeah, I mean, pretty simple, but gets the job done. So yesterday I started listening to the CD on my studio monitors here, and then I waited a couple hours, and then I watched the DVD version of it as well. And overall, my thoughts are, this album's pretty good. On I Didn't Come Here to Die, I really think that White Collar Sideshow has found a sound that is much more distinctively their own. It still has all the industrial rock elements that the previous releases had, but it introduces two huge changes. The first being elements of country music to complement the industrial rock metal vibes. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the second thing that they introduce here are Veronica's vocals. The first album was, well, the first EP was pretty much instrumental. The second one introduces TD's vocals. It is amazing to me how much just adding these two elements really flesh out the overall sound and make it sound like the project is really running on all cylinders here. It really feels like they're embracing fully their crazy Ozark roots here. The country music elements introduced on this album, I feel really, they don't take away from the heaviness of their music at all. In fact, I think it makes things feel so much more dynamic, and that makes the heavier moments of the album hit so much harder when they come around. Then you have the walking basses, the electric slide, and banjo sounds in there. Really just give the album so much more texture and also a sense of place and a sense of origin with the band. Then there's the songs on this album. What about the songs? Again, on this project, it feels like the songwriting has really taken a solid evolution here. It really feels that nearly every song on this album stands shoulders above anything that was on Witch Hunt. Witch Hunt had a handful of memorable songs on it, I feel, but I Didn't Come Here to Die really almost kind of landslides that whole album away. And that's just because of how much it's raised the bar. I think their previous stuff had its own merit, but it was much more about the show. And this one I feel like we're seeing really solid songs here. Songs like Valley of the Skull, or Hug Me or Hang Me, My Warped Places, the album's title track, Spider's Weave, Tombstones for Eyes are all really good. They even have a solid cover song on this album with their own version of the Doors song, Break On Through to the Other Side. The problem with covers is there a purpose for it? But I think they did a good job of taking this song and making it something that fits with their themes, and they also brought a lot of themselves to it. So it's worth its own listen. Next up, there is the film side of this. So there's the CD and there's the DVD of this. And, well, the film, I feel like it's good for what it is. It's set in sort of a dystopian, sci-fi, maybe somewhat cyberpunkish sort of world. It plays a bit like a long-form music video. It reuses some footage from time to time. I don't think that it's a great movie for a movie's sake, but if you're looking at this as the backdrop to a live performance, or just thinking of it as a long-form music video, I think it's really solid for what it is, for what it's supposed to be here. So, I guess if I'm going to be honest here, I feel like this is really the first time in this project where the music and songs themselves shine bright enough to stand above the whole multimedia presentation. I'm looking forward to seeing them perform this material live. I really feel like this is something I can just put on and listen to. It might be a good album to listen to while driving, some road trip music, who knows. So White Collar Sideshow may not be an act that is for a wide audience, but I feel they've done a fantastic job with this album defining who they are as a band and defining who their music is for. If industrial rock isn't your thing, then this album just may not be for you. But if you like heavy music with a little bit of a redneck twinge to it, I wholeheartedly recommend that you give I Didn't Come Here to Die a try. Maybe you like Rob Zombie, or even other bands like Death Therapy or something in that vein. This album might be something you'd want to give a try. And also, if you ever get a chance to see them live, I fully recommend you do that. They're a great experience, and they're nice folks if you'd like to try to converse with them. guess that's it. That's my general thoughts on white collar sideshows. I didn't come here to die, and I will be sure to include some links down below if you would like to listen to them or read up on them more, or order their albums. They have it on vinyl as well as the CD, DVD combo pack. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like what I do, you can check out the links below. There's some links to my band and my own music. Also, please consider joining us on Patreon. That is the only way we're really able to make this work. Thank you so much for those of you who have contributed, and I'll see you next time.